mathematicians, and welcome to math lesson number 25. All right, so if you remember, we were talking about long division, and we had reminded ourselves how long division works. Well, what happens if we go to do some long division and we get something like this? There's a decimal inside the house. So that's telling us we have 46.2 cookies to share with the 3 people who are waiting at the door, right? So 46.2, that's what we have to share, divided by or shared between the 3 people waiting at the door. Well, how do we share 0.2 of a cookie? Do we even know how to do that? Well, no. So what we're going to do is to start with, we're going to ignore that decimal. And we're going to divide just like usual, and then we'll talk about what to do with a decimal point afterwards. Okay, so really important here though that we put Daddy's answer, line it up really carefully on the roof, right? So again, remember, Daddy fish divides, Mama fish multiplies, Sister fish subtracts, and then Brother fish brings down. And we just keep working our way through that little mantra time after time after time until we run out of things to share. So we just keep always going back up to the top. Okay, so starting out with Daddy fish divides. Okay, so the 3 walks in the door, there's 4 things. So we're gonna look underneath the 3 because that's the number at the door, and we're trying to get as close to 4 as possible without being bigger. Oh, we found it. Go across to the wall. Everybody would get 1 cookie. So that number goes on the roof over what we were just trying to share. Okay, Mama fish says multiply, 1 times 3. Right, here it is. So that's the number in the house, stays in the house. Okay, so we write it into this house. Okay, Sister fish says subtract, 4 minus 3, there's 1 left over. Brother fish brings down. All right, now we have 16 things that we are going to share with the 3 people waiting at the door. So again, we're going to look underneath the 3 to get as close to 16 as we can without being bigger. Oh, too big. Back up, 15 things, and everybody gets 5. So you write the 5 on the roof. Then we have to figure out what we've used up. 5 times 3 is what we've used up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that would be 15 things. We've used up 15 of our cookies. Sister's gonna subtract 16 minus 15. There is 1 cookie left over. Brother fish is gonna bring on down the next digit. Now we've got 12 cookies to share with our 3 people at the door. So I look underneath the 3. I'm getting as close to 12 as possible. Look, I can get exactly 12. I go over to the wall. Everybody's going to get 4 cookies. 4 times 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12. Oh, so it's always going to be the number that we got to already. So sometimes I like to be a little bit lazy, and sometimes I write that down first. But really I should do Daddy fish and then Mama fish next. As long as you remember how to go back and figure it out, it all works out. Sister fish subtracted, there was nothing left. Brother fish tried to bring down, there were no more numbers left. Okay, so if I had 46.2 cookies and I shared it with 3 people, would it make sense that each person got 154 cookies? No. That would be nice if it worked out that way, but it doesn't. So that's where the decimal point has to come back in. Now, when we were adding and subtracting, the decimal point was really heavy and it fell down into our answer. When we divide, the decimal point gets really light and it floats up into our answer. So if you had 46.2 cookies and you shared them with 3 friends, each person would get 15.4 cookies. Okay. Makes it a little easier so you don't have to try to figure out how to share 0.2. We're just going to divide it normally and then float that answer up. All right, let's try one more just to make sure you've got it. All right, so I've got 3.40 cookies, and I'd like to share them with my 4 friends. Okay, so we start out, we're looking 4's at the door, so we're looking underneath the 4, and we're trying to get as close to 3 as possible without being bigger. There isn't an option. There's nothing there. No one is getting any cookies. So when they don't get anything, that's a 0. 0 times 4 is 0 because anything times 0 is 0. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Don't let your multiplying brain confuse you. We're skipping on to subtraction, right? Daddy divided, Mama multiplied, now we're on to sister fish subtract. 3 minus 0, 3. Okay, brother fish is going to bring down the next one. Okay, so now instead of just 3 cookies, now we're up to 34 cookies that I'm going to share with the 4 people at the door. So I look underneath the 4, trying to get as close to 32 without being bigger. Too big. Just right. Okay, so I've got 32 cookies. I go over to the wall. Everybody's going to get 8 cookies. Okay, now, how many cookies have I shared out already? 8 groups of 4, which is 32. Right, there it is right there on the multiplication chart. And sister is going to subtract to find out how many are left over. 4 minus 2, 2. Brother's going to help us out by bringing down the next digit. So now I have 20 cookies to share with the 4 people at the door. I look underneath the 4. Here's the 20. Go over to the, oh, so everybody's going to get 5 cookies this time. There's Daddy's answer. Mama says multiply. Find out how many you've shared. 5 groups of 4, which is 20. Look at that. It's also the number that we found over here in the house, right? In the house, stays in the house. Sister subtracts to make sure there's nothing left over, and there isn't. So there's no remainder in this case. Last thing, if you only had 3.4 cookies, you cannot give everybody 85 cookies because you didn't have them to start with. So we got to deal with a decimal point. Remember, turns into a balloon, floats up. And that's why it's really important that you put your answer for how many cookies they get right on top of the number that you were sharing at the time, or the digit you were sharing at the time. So that way the decimal is going to line up when you go to float it up. All right. So once again, for division, there is a worksheet that your parents can either print or they can bring it up on the screen, and you can copy down the questions. So that's going to be your homework for this one. Okay, happy mathing!